Hi everyone, this is Sam Gray. I am an eighth grade English teacher at the junior high, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a website called Teaching Tolerance. The URL is justtolerance.org, and I have it linked here on the first page. So, I wanted to talk about teaching tolerance because in the last roughly 5 months, basically since our closure, our society has seen a very large shift in social dynamic, social expectation, and having conversations about topics that we may not necessarily know how to talk about with our students. So, what teaching tolerance does is it provides us as teachers with the appropriate resources to have conversations with our students about what it means to be an active participant in a diverse democracy. So, the tools and the resources that I'm going to show you from their website, I'm hoping that you'll be able to incorporate into your classroom. This would probably work best for like ELA, humanities, social studies, civics courses where you're going to be having both reading, writing, and conversations about what you're reading and what you're writing about, or any course that you can talk to students about our society and what's going on. So, the way that I have this set up is I wanted to highlight the five main parts of teaching tolerance or tolerance.org that I thought were most beneficial to us as teachers. There's more than just what I have here, but I thought that these were what I really wanted to focus on. Side note, really quickly, if you like the way that this presentation is set up and you're interested in figuring out how to build one of these Google slide presentations like I have here, I will be presenting a tutorial on this during our PD on the 20th. So if you're interested in figuring out how to do this kind of like file folder that you're going to see in this presentation, you can hop over to that presentation on the 20th. So, just to read Teaching Tolerance's mission statement, basically, they're a website set to help teachers and schools educate children and youth to be active participants in a diverse democracy. Again, tolerance.org is their website, so you can click over to that or visit that whenever you want to. It's got pretty much everything that we're going to be looking at today, but these are what I wanted to highlight. So, this is what tolerance.org looks like. When you get to the website, you're going to go to their landing page and it's going to have their most recent relevant articles. So we've got Black Lives Matter, teaching about race, racism, and police violence. We've got civil rights movement. We've got coronavirus. So we're looking at articles that are relevant not only to our history and our society, but our current timeline. So this is their landing page. From here, I'm going to start breaking down basically what is under this classroom resources tab, because this is really where a lot of the information is going to be for us as teachers. So, teaching tolerance provides lessons for teachers, already pre made lessons. And these lessons can be filtered to fit grade level, social justice domain, subject, and topic. Once those filters are selected, and I'll show you that in a moment, but once those filters are selected, lessons will be presented that then fit those filters. What those lessons give is basically everything that we would have in a lesson that we write. It's got objectives, it's got essential questions, materials, vocab, suggested procedures, and extension activities, which I love. This is great for students who need an additional challenge or students who maybe get done their work kind of quickly, and you may not necessarily want them to get done their work that quickly, and you want them to just think a little bit more. So I think that that's a really great option that they have. So you can either go through this link, the classroom resources / lessons, or once you're on the landing page, if you just hover over classroom resources, we're going to be just on this first tab here on lessons. So they've always got just a little like blurb about what the resource is. But then if you go down, you can search for a specific lesson by title, or what I like to do is I'll go to filter lessons. I'll select my grade level. Like I said, I teach eighth grade. So I'm going to pick 6 through 8. I can then check my social justice domain. So maybe I want to talk to my students about identity. This is something that we do cover in my class. We talk about how our experiences build who we are. So I want to talk about identity. You could click all 4 of them if you want to, but I'm going to choose identity for this one. My subject is reading and language arts. And then the topic that I want to do, I can really kind of go anywhere with this. I know that I want to talk to them about race and ethnicity. This is something that one of our units in 8th grade is cultural literature, and I want them to know that I wanted them to know who they're reading about and know how that person's race affects their experiences in life. But I also know that bullying and bias is something that my students struggle with. So I also want those options in there as well. So I'm going to apply filters. And there were originally like 544 lessons I think they had available. Now we can see here that there's 9. So these are going to fit those filters that I pre-selected. And then I can go through here and I can see, now I see that these first 3 all look like they're related. So it's lesson 1, 2, and 3. So I would obviously want to start with lesson 1. But I can choose any of these. I'll do looking closely at ourselves. That feels like exactly what I'm looking for. So here I've got a little section that just tells me about what this lesson is about, what grade levels it could apply to, and then down here is when I start to get into the actual lesson format. I can bookmark this to save it to my account if I want to come back to it, or I can just go directly from this screen. So I've got my objectives, my essential questions, what we want our students to understand throughout this lesson, materials that I may need, vocabulary, and then this is the actual procedure that we'll be using if we use this lesson. So I've got a 7-step procedure there. And then finally at the bottom, I've got my extension activities. So the activities, and we'll look at this in a couple of minutes, but the activities that Teaching Tolerance does is there's a write something or a do something. And the do something is obviously like an actual hands-on activity. And then the write something is writing something. So we've got extension activities. And then also, this is really cool. Some of the lessons also have ELL extensions. So this is a great resource for our students who are in our ELL programs and our teachers who are teaching those students. This also has the Common Core standards listed at the bottom. So it's really got everything that we would need in a lesson. And I just think that it's a super quick and easy way to incorporate the necessary conversations that we need to be having with our students. In addition to lessons, they also have learning plans. Their learning plans are what we would consider a multi-lesson unit plan. They also have the same filter options as a lesson, but you're going to get multiple lessons instead of just a single one. It includes the same things that a lesson does, but it also includes texts, text-dependent questions and answers, teaching strategies, and student tasks. So again, you can use the link that's linked here, or you can go back to Classroom Resources and click on Learning Plans. So again, they have that blurb here about the learning, what this section is, and then the filters again. So we see there's 3,781 learning plans before we filter. I'm going to do my same filters as before just to see what the difference is between the lesson and the learning plans. So I did 6 through 8, identity, reading and language arts. I did race and ethnicity before, as well as bullying and bias. So we went from almost 4,000 learning plans to a little over 400. Okay, and I can start to look through these. Now, what's cool about the way that they have their learning plan set up is that underneath the title of it, they actually have their essential questions. So I can see if I'm trying to teach my students about their identity, about what makes them who they are, I can look quickly through these LEQs that are here. And instead of having to click on every single lesson, I can just see which ones I think fit well. So like this one right here, how do different parts of our identities combine to make us who we are? That one sounds really good. This one, what makes us who we are? Tolerance and social justice. I'll click on this one. So I've got my essential questions. Again, I can save a copy to my account or I can bookmark it. What groups do I belong to? How do people show that they are proud of themselves? Do all people have the same rights? How am I the same as other people? How am I different? Are differences okay? How can differences be good in a classroom? So this one specifically applies to the classroom. Now, I have this section here that is texts. These are partner texts that can go along with the activities, the discussions, and the questions that we'll be looking at throughout this learning plan. You'll see that some of these texts aren't for the grade level that you selected, but they can be used as partner texts. So this is actually a visual text, so it's a photo. Just because my students are in 8th grade doesn't mean that they can't read partner texts on a kindergarten level. I read children's stories to my students all the time to practice the skills that we're looking at. So I could click on this here, and it would take me to my login, and it would take me to what I'm looking at. Okay, so this would be the first text. Now, this text here, I can kind of do this however I want. I can show them the picture and I can talk about it myself. I can go back to my learning plan and see what other texts I have available, or these are still all of the texts. So we've got lots and lots of options. Or I can come down to teaching strategies and I can see exactly what they want me to do with that texts. So these teaching strategies, they want us to do anchor charts, they want us to create questions, and then the student tasks, this is what they want them to do. They want them to produce an original art that conveys an anti-bias or social justice message. So we've got all of these different texts. Some of them are going to have questions with them. I'll see if this is an example of one that has a question. Some of them also come with audio versions, which is great. Okay, this is a kid's text. This one does, oh, there's the text dependent questions down at the bottom. So a lot of the ones that are literature, they'll actually say on the page where the learning plan is, it'll say literature up here. These ones almost all the time have text dependent questions at the bottom. So I can ask these questions to my students and then they provide what they think are answers. There are also times where they'll say answers may vary. That's typically for the older level students. So these are the learning plans. Again, it's basically just like the lesson plans, but they are obviously multi-lesson instead of just a single lesson. Now, if you wanted to do something that wasn't already pre-made for you, but you wanted to use the resources that Teaching Tolerance has, they also have that option. So let's say that you don't want to teach one of their pre-made lessons, but you really like one of the texts that they use, or you want to see what text they have available that would fit the parameters that you're looking for. You can do that. So for the texts, you can filter them by literature, multimedia, visual, or informational. So like we saw on the learning plan, the visual had a picture, literature was like actual reading, multimedia can be a video, it can be like a SoundCloud link like the one was there, and then informational, similar to literature, it'll be informational text. You can filter by grade, social justice domain, subject, and topic, just like you would in the lessons and learning plans. The texts work great for independent work, extensions, or supplemental texts, and they do include text-dependent questions like you saw in the last text we looked at. If you have students who need extended learning opportunities, this is a really great way for them to continue to read at their grade level or maybe even above their grade level and still interact with some higher order texts and questions that they can immediately get the answers to. So I'll show you how the texts work. Same place, classroom resources and student text, or you can use the link that's on the presentation. And from here, they have 597 texts available before filters. I can choose my text type. For this one, I'm going to select multimedia. 6 through 8, identity. Now, it does narrow down the subjects here. So before I was able to do reading language arts, it does narrow down the subjects. I don't actually choose a subject when I look for text specifically because I'm okay with any of the subjects that come up because I just want them to read, or I just want them to, in this case, use a multimedia resource. You can choose a subject, but you don't have to. You'll also notice that the topics changed a little bit. So they're just a little bit reordered. All of the topics are the same as they were before, but they may have added one or two and they reordered them. So I want to do bullying and bias and race and ethnicity. So again, there were about 600 multimedia texts before, or multimedia options, and now there's 21. So for here, multimedia in a trailer park, isolated mothers pursue a shared dream. And we've got a video. We also have, so this video, just click through. So the video is originally in Spanish. They do have English subtitles, but then they also have an English translation, or a Spanish translation from Spanish to English below. And then you've got your text-dependent questions at the bottom. And what's great about this is that you can push this out to students. You can link the text and put it on Google Classroom or Seesaw or whatever format you're using, whatever learning platform you're using, and then they can go through and answer the text-dependent questions. And if you want them to know if their answers are correct, they can just click on Reveal Answers themselves. Otherwise, if you don't want them seeing the answers, you could just give them the video and they could watch it just on YouTube. So there are a couple of ways to get around that. So those are the texts. Again, you can pick any kind of resource or any kind of text that you want, and they're going to have those text-dependent questions. Student tasks are, I said earlier, they have like a write something, do something. Those are their two types of tasks. So if you're looking for an activity for your students to do, you can actually just go to student tasks, and then you can decide, do you want them doing something hands-on? Do you want them producing a product? Do you want them interacting with something, or do you want them writing? So the do something, you'll see there's 34 tasks, right? There's 22. That's because these can be reused with multiple different texts or videos or conversations that you're having in class. It doesn't just have to be a one and done kind of thing. So do something is what I want my students to do. And then here we don't have filters because they are reusable and they can be fit for different subjects and grades and lessons and things like that. We do have grade levels. They'll tell us what it's appropriate for. So I could have my students write and perform a skit. I could have them identify and investigate a community problem and propose a solution, produce original art. So you'll notice that some of these, like this community art showcase, that was actually in one of the learning plans that we looked at earlier, but you can use it independently. Also, some of these are just really good if you're even outside of teaching tolerance, if you're just trying to figure out an activity for them. This is basically just a list of different activities that kids can do that can fit for any lesson that you're teaching. So it's a really, really great resource to have. And then write something or write to the source is the same thing. It's going to tell us what grade levels are appropriate and what they're going to be doing. So a two-sided coin asks students to demonstrate their explanatory and comparative writing skills. So we've got different skills that are being practiced, different grade levels again, and then those Common Core standards. Now we move on to the Learning Plan Builder. I think the Learning Plan Builder is probably Teaching Tolerance's coolest tool that they have. And they have really cool tools that we've already looked at. So the Learning Plan Builder is just really, really neat. Basically what it does is it's a step-by-step template that allows you to create a unit plan using their materials. So instead of using their learning plans, you can actually create your own with their materials. And it's basically like a fill-in-the-blank kind of form. So you don't even have to start from scratch, which is nice. So you're going to click on Build a Learning Plan. And you're going to name it. We're going to call this sample learning plan for now. All right, I'm going to select my grade level. one or more social justice domains. So I'm just going to continue on with the same categories that I was doing before. So I'm going to look at identity. Now I'm going to write my essential questions. So I want my students to consider how does our background shape our experiences in life? And I can write as many as I want here. They also give you suggested essential questions that I can add. So what makes us who we are? I like that. How are our identities today shaped by society? I like that. So I can use theirs as well. Now I'm going to select one or more topics. Again, I'm going to go with what I've already been doing throughout this: race and ethnicity, and bullying and bias. Okay. Now, so far, as I've been clicking through all of this, it's been narrowing down texts down here for me. So now I've got 60 texts that fit what I have already chosen. So I'm going to add an informational, a literature, add this one, and I can see more. I'd like to see a multimedia, and maybe they have a visual here that I can add. I'll try one more set. If not, then I'll move on. They've got a lot of multimedia in that one that I just clicked. Okay, so we'll just add one more multimedia. Add to plan. Now, I can choose, do I want them to do right to the source, or do I want them to do something? I'm going to have them do something. Okay, and you'll see it originally had 25, and now it's got 14. I can also do both. Before I clicked on do something, I had 25, and if I want them to do both of them, I can just not click on any of them, and I can add writing and doing something. So there, I've added 4 tasks to that. I can add my teaching strategies here. So do I want them looking at vocabulary? Do I want them doing meaning-making paragraphs? Do a traits matrix and a word wheel. So these are all different teaching strategies. We'll do vocabulary rounds. And now I'm going to select my subject, add any notes that I have here, and I can make my plan public so that other teachers who also use teaching tolerance can use my plan. So right now, I'm not going to make mine public because my plan's title is not good. But if I wanted to, I could. I'm going to verify that I'm not a robot, and I'm going to save my learning plan. And now I've got this really awesome learning plan. And I've got 3 essential questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 texts, 3 teaching strategies, 4 student tasks. So now I've got my whole unit plan right here. I can make it public from here, I can edit it from here, but basically I've got a little mini unit on identity, race and ethnicity, and bias and bullying that my students can read relevant information about. And the very last thing that I want to show you is just the tools and resources that Teaching Tolerance has available. So they have, like you've seen, free text lessons and unit builders. They also have free film kits. So I think these are really cool because with their film kits, you can actually get any of these films for free. And they do like a download for them. So I could order this film kit and it's free. It's basically like a library. They just want to make sure they don't have more copies checked out than they have available. So those are the film kits. They also have free printable posters and a One World poster kit So if you just click on this when you make your account, you can order a free set of them. And then they have free printable ones that you can print yourself. And they have a free Teaching Tolerance magazine that comes out every 6 months. When you sign up for your account, it will ask you if you want to get that. You can get it sent wherever you get your mail. So that's Teaching Tolerance. I really hope that you guys can use this in your classroom. I hope that your students can learn some really helpful, useful information and continue to be appropriate and active members of our society. Thanks so much for watching.